PlayStation 5 specs, the
Yeah.
first details of them came out earlier this week. And the highlights of it is it's going to use SSD, which is essentially the way this breaks down is you'll get the games will be processed faster, rendered more information can be rendered at one time. So they used Spider-Man as one of the examples. So the fast travel portion of Spider-Man on a PS4 Pro generally takes about 14 seconds to process completely. But with
Which
the
I wouldn't know because I always web swing to my location. But go
right,
ahead.
right,
I don't
right,
know what Rudy Poo jabronis
is
are
not using
fast
the web
traveling in a Spider-Man game.
fast traveler to Spider-Man game. You defeating the whole purpose. But in with SSD, it was in zero point 0.8 seconds.
Yeah.
So that's a significant difference. So obviously, um, Spider-Man is not a sports game. But immediately my mind started. Oh, also they're talking about 8K graphics, which to me sounds better than it actually is for
Well,
right now.
here's
For
what
right
I'll
now,
disagree. Here's what I'll disagree with you on. If your PC, you play PC games.
yes.
If your PC can handle 4K,
Hmm.
you know that at 1080p it can play every game on the market at 60 frames per second.
Yes.
So when they tell us about 8K, listen, the world is not adapted to 4K yet.
Right.
And it may never adapt to 4K. It might be like the Blu-ray, where it's kind of a thing that held it down until we went to downloads and
Yeah.
streams, right?
Hmm.
But if you can play 8K, you know that everything at 4K is going to be able to run at 60, no problem. Maybe even 144, which is what PC gamers have moved on to, which
Right.
allows higher competitive play. I mean, really across the board, but especially in first-person shooters. It actually makes a real difference. If you have a 144K hertz monitor, that's going to make a difference. And so having games be able to do that at 4K 60 baseline, that's actually very exciting for every genre. So the 8K itself doesn't matter. I agree with that, but the repercussions of the 8K is optimizing at 4K, which is fantastic.
Yeah, I think what I mean when I say that is that selling it as 8K as a feature is doesn't mean as much as it sounds like it means, right? Because when you to most people, to the layman, right, when they hear 8K, they're immediately sitting down and they're waiting to see these graphics that are going to be in 8K. So I've seen 4K and 4K looks amazing. So now what does 8K look like? When in
Here's the thing though,
actuality,
B, on console, 4K is never at 60. So that makes a real difference because when a game runs at 60 or above, it looks way better, even at the same resolution.
but what I'm
So
saying is still
yeah, go ahead.
not, it's still not 8K. And people, especially if you don't understand, so you got to bring it back to a person who's not technical at all, which is the majority of gamers, right? They're not technical in that way where they're going to be able to break down the specs and understand, oh, well, this game's not running at 60 frames per second. They're not, most people don't know that much, right, about it. They see they go with these huge numbers that are advertised to them. 4K, 8K is better than 4K. So now I'm looking for this thing that is going to be, it's going to, what people are looking for the jump. They're looking for the jump. And if it's just that the game is because I've seen some, what I've seen some side by side stuff, right? Of the same game running supposedly in 8K and a game running in 4K. The differences are not going to blow the layman away. They're not. They're going.
But I
People are
think
going to
I
be
think the difference
underwhelmed.
between 30 and 60 frames is huge.
Yeah, and there are some games running at 4K and 60 frames per second. It's not a
On
lot.
console,
I think for I
I
think
don't think anything's running at 4K 60 on console,
hmm,
and especially not a consistent 60.
but maybe not a consistent 60. I don't
But
know. I don't know.
that's important. Like
Let
if the game gets cool and it started to turn back
me
into a
see.
PS3, that ain't good. You know what I mean?
I'm not sure that I'm not sure about. So I can't say for sure.
Yeah, Forza might do it. But again, Forza is it's a racing game, so it's not processing the way God of War or Red Dead Redemption or Spider-Man's processing. It's like racing games are designed to be the best looking games you can buy because their job is so linear.
Hmm.
And and in racing games it's actually harder to detect because you're not seeing as many
Okay.
objects, and they all look really good.
Battlefield 1 is 4K 60 frames per second.
There we go. And it looks great.
Mm-hmm.
It's the only thing that looks like that.
Yeah, that one's 4K
And
60 frames per
and
second.
when people see
Actually,
Battlefield, they reacted.
Call of Duty Black Ops 4.
Yeah, but the thing about COD is using preschool graphics to get that effect. Like
Yeah.
it's 4K, but it's 4K the way Overwatch is 4K. It's
Mm-hmm.
like, yeah, it's a cartoon. Right? Like, and I'm not saying COD looks bad,
Right.
but COD clearly, like, it's funny. We was just talking about this in with the Sim Nation chat. I play in Modern Warfare 4, the remaster, and then you play Black Ops. It's like, what have y'all been doing for 10 years? It's the same video game,
Yeah,
and I still like it. I'm
yeah.
not mad at you. I
Right, because
like
it
it,
works. Because it
but
works.
there's almost no leap. Like, it's literally the difference between Modern Warfare 4 and Black Ops is a technological filter
Yeah.
of, you know, and so again, that's another game where it's 4K, but at a big compromise because they can't give it the same graphics as a God of War. Whereas now, when they say 4K, what they're really saying is we're giving you the best graphics that we can give you, like the Anthem demo, and we're giving you that at 60 frames per second consistently. A layman will be able to see that difference. They might not understand all of the words and all of the order and how it affects every different game. But like Battlefield, when people play Battlefield 1, they were like, this game looks ridiculous for some reason. I think that will be the end of the day effect. But the solid state hard drive, the load times, this is all huge. You know what I think is the biggest factor in the PS5?
What's that?
Backwards compatibility
It's
and
huge.
digital
It's definitely
libraries.
huge. It's definitely huge.
Because now, so you take a guy like me, right? I bought the PlayStation when Destiny 1 came out. I have the white PlayStation from Destiny 1. And it's clearly tired of being a video game system. It don't want to be around here no more. It wants to die. I'm going to keep it alive for as long as I can. But for me, I'm also buying a PS4. And because of the nature of games like Destiny and 2K and, you know, all of these card games like Ultimate Team and the long RPGs, we all have these backlogs of games that we haven't beaten yet. When these new systems come out, we're going to be able to play that library directly from our digital record. And the game is going to run better, load faster, and possibly in some cases, we'll be able to play the 4K versions of those games that weren't working optimally in this generation. And that's super exciting news across the board.
It's essentially like getting remastered, upscaled versions of every game.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know, so you'll get an opportunity to run every single game that you ever had optimally. So that is
Yeah.
exciting. But
It's the first console that day one I have a reason to get. And I was like, Brian, seriously, I was almost ready to switch to PC.
yeah. Well,
Full
see,
time.
I only switched to PC for sports games and only the offline portions of sports games because the online community for PC for 2K is kind of dead. So you'll get a little bit in my team, but in like park and stuff, it's not vibrant at all. But if you like franchise modes and stuff, which I do kind of want to get more into it in regards to for PS5 for what they're doing from a technical standpoint, how can it impact a sports game? What different thing I'm imagining certain games, like even stuff that hasn't even been done yet for PS4, like a boxing game, which I've been thirsting for I don't know how long. Dude, a boxing game using 8K, so 4K running at 60 frames per second, whatever it is, SSD. I'm the thought of it just makes me crazy. I'm like, whoa, it's really, it could be something, man. I don't know. I don't know exactly what's planned, what type of things might be on the horizon for launch titles. We don't even know when the release date is. I'm thinking it has to be 2020. That makes
Yeah, I'm
sense to me.
hoping so. And you bring up a great point with boxing games. I'm also going to throw UFC in there. We're both
Yeah.
fans of that game. The thing about those games, it's almost the opposite of a racing game. So a racing game allows you to see this great technological shift because it really doesn't have to do as much as games that have a whole bunch of NPCs and changing backgrounds and all that stuff. A UFC or a boxing game is the other end of it. It gets to have the best looking characters possible.
Yes.
because it only has to show you those two characters at a time. So you have the window for the most realistic faces. You know what I mean? The most effects in terms of sweat and breathing and just stacking polygons and stuff like that. And hopefully, well, the loading is going to affect crowds, right? Because that's all information.
Mm-hmm.
And so we'll also be able to get those great crowds. I would say actually UFC, I don't know if it'd be 4 or 5 on the new consoles is probably going to be one of my most anticipated games, because even if it's like a 2K thing where it's basically the same as the last time, that's one of those games where the graphics alone
Yeah.
will be worth it.
Yeah, I think your graphics alone would be worth it. And just, I mean, the fact that I know that they've already mastered the ability, not, I shouldn't say mastered, but they've already kind of honed in on how to make a fun fighting experience. They've already got that, right?
Oh yeah, it's a good
Just
game.
some things they can do better here and there, but they've already got the core basis of it. Now, if you just pile on even better graphics than they already have, there's a couple graphic faux pas in there, and it's mostly in the DLC, because they didn't take time to scale the bodies and the heads properly. Like Israel Adesanya has the head the size of a computer monitor. I mean, and I'm talking about an old school one. I mean, he's his bobblehead style. So that's jacked up. And so the same thing is with Zabit
They
Magomed
were trying to
Sharipov.
display a metaphor.
Is that what? Right, exactly. I guess so, because he's definitely clowning right now. But Zabit Magomed Sharipov, same way. And these are all people that were added after,
Yeah.
in DLC. So those don't look exactly great. But yeah, man, I'm super excited about
I'm
that.
very excited. A lot of
I
times
mean,
when I hear about the new consoles, I'm like, too soon. I think this console generation is right on time. And what I love
yes.
about it is with the backwards compatibility, we're not getting a population reset. There's not going to be some big toss up between Microsoft and PS4 to see who starts their whole thing all over again. We'll be playing the same old games. They're going to be performing better, and that's going to be great. And things are still looking up for Microsoft too, because of what they're doing with the Xbox Pass. I think that's going to be a really big deal on PC and bringing those communities together. And I have good feelings about what the next Xbox is going to be. Not that I'll need one, because the PC is basically going to also be an Xbox. But I'm glad that I'll be able to play with the Xbox community if they go that way.
Yeah, I think that'll happen. I definitely think that'll happen. It's the closest thing to cross-platform. Not exactly what people want with cross-platform, because they want PlayStation and Xbox, but linking Xbox with PC is, Rocket League's already
Can't
done it.
wait.
So,
Yep.
so it is what it is. But yeah,
So it's Fortnite, right?
yeah, Fortnite's done it, and probably another game that I can't think of,
Yeah.
but yeah, they've done it. I mean, so man, I'm telling you, man, it's just so many sports games. I'm thinking like, I hesitate to say I want to see what Madden looks like, but EA has shown me that they're not going to mess with that formula so much. You know, one of the biggest.
Madden looked like the last Madden for years now.
Yeah, yeah,
Like,
yeah.
if you got this Madden, you know what the next Madden is going to
Well,
look like.
I will say this: they have upgraded visually, but here's the biggest thing about Madden, right? And it's getting this way with 2K too. You can only play football. See, it's worse. It's worse with football than it is with 2K. You can only play football from one view. You cannot play, like, I can choose to play broadcast cam on 2K, and I can
Yeah.
do it, and I can get away with it. And it may not, it's a slight things here and there, but but playing Madden or playing a video game football, you really can't play the game except for from one view. You have to
See, but
play
I
the
don't
vertical
think
view.
that's the issue, though. Because the
Well,
thing
I
about
think that's the
football,
first reason why there is no immediate visual disconnection between last year's game and this year's game. Because here we go, straight up and down. This is what you're going to see.
well, I think it's a different reason. Because if you look at NFL 2K5 and all pro football,
Mm-hmm.
there's still things about those games that look better than Madden.
Yeah, but it's mostly it's about collision detection, and it's about
Well,
physics. And yeah,
it's about animation
yes,
overall.
that was the next word I was going to say.
Yes, and the thing, and it's about artwork. That's really what it comes down to, is artwork. People think that there's no, and for everybody watching, most of you guys should know I'm a professional artist. That's what I do for a living. So the thing that people get mistaken about realism, they think in order to achieve realism, at the end of the day, you're just taking a photograph. That's not true. when you watch something, say the difference between watching a football game and watching a football movie. What a football movie is trying to do is take the football that happens in your imagination and actually show it to you. And 2K, when they made football games, were much better at that when it came to the on-field stuff and the sideline stuff. I thought Madden was better at the in-between cut stuff. You know, what's that show on so Amazon, when every team, the Hard Knocks,
Okay.
the Hard Knocks kind of stuff. EA had a good handle on that, but the other stuff, a lot of that stuff, 2K had a better handle on. So in Madden, if they really want to improve their game, they have to invest in the little things. There's a cookie cutter feel to Madden's artwork, and they just keep shining it up. They just keep adding textures to it.
Yeah.
And that's not what we need. We need for you guys to go into the subtlety. Like that running in Madden looks 10 years old.
You know,
the way the characters turn.
honestly, man, it's not even just about the way that it looks, it's the functionality. The functionality in Madden, when you compare it to All Pro 2K8, the functionality is still behind.
Correct, but you can see it.
Yeah, I mean, but you can feel it even
For
more so
sure.
than seeing it. And you know that if you know football, that's not how that goes. That's not how that sequence is supposed to work.
Shout out to Gideon Prime and Chris Move, because they have Chris Move's long time ago, obviously, but Gideon Prime, he'll still talk about this stuff. When you see a juke in All Pro or 2K5,
Right.
it looks like a juke. Like it literally looks like I'm moving one way, I hit you with the stutter step, you went the wrong way, I went the other way. It looks convincing.
Mm-hmm.
That convincingness, art is part of the ingredients that goes in there. It's not all mechanics.
No,
you know what I'm saying? It's not all controls. Part of it is visual. In fact,
absolutely.
The whole thing about a crossover dribble or a juke move is selling the move visually.
Yeah, it's the eye. Yeah.
Correct. So when we look at Madden doesn't sell us visually on a lot of things.
Yes.
It sells us on some things, and it's gotten better, but there's a lot it doesn't sell us visually on.
Yeah.
So with them, I mean, you could give them HAL from 2001. You know, I don't know what kind of supercomputer they need. It doesn't help if you don't have the artwork and the ideas to level up that game's visual acumen. You know what I'm saying? And so they need that. That's what they need. They need to level up conceptually.
I really think they need this, and I think just overall, and we'll move on. But this is a topic for another day, and I think you and I have talked about this briefly before. I really think that a lot of these sports games just need to get to a point where they take a year off. And I'm totally a proponent of a 18 to 24 month cycle. 24 month is better to me. And then you just have updates in between. And I'm totally a proponent of paying a subscription service for a game the same way they are on some other games, where you literally pay an annual fee. And you pay an annual fee for the game, and that entitles you to every new update. It entitles you to all of the DLC, everything that comes with the game. I would totally G for that, for basketball, for boxing, for MMA, for football, for whatever sport I was interested in like that. I would do that. And then if you I'm not gonna get too much into that because that's a whole separate topic that we didn't plan for.
I agree. That is a topic for another day.
You know, but yeah, that I would totally G for that.